How are higher educational institutions helping students protect their personally identifiable information when meeting the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act regulations? Privacy has often become a critical issue in education because of the amount of increased information collected and held by institutions. The issue of privacy is raising concerns as hackers have expanded their playing field to include educational institutions. Data compromised in higher education breaches extend far past student grades. Personal and financial data are all abundant at institutions. FERPA was intended to standardize and define the rights of students at institutions and how the sensitive records should be handled and stored. So, what is FERPA? It stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It is a federal law that was enacted and requires educational institutions to uphold the security and protection of student educational records from unauthorized disclosure. In education, information is considered directory or non-directory. Directory information is not considered to be harmful if released. This information can vary by institution and can include a student's name, address, phone number, major, enrollment information, and degrees awarded. Non-directory information is considered harmful if released, such as grades, financial information, and personal counseling information. Non-directory information also includes personally identifiable information, or PII. This is information that can specifically identify a student. Some direct identifiers include a combination of the student's name, address, and social security number. Although the student's name is also directory information, it is the combination of specific information that is protected. Indirect identifiers include a student's date of birth, mother's maiden name, or a combination of information that could identify a student. Privacy concerns related to inadequate security can have serious implications and lead to data breaches, compromised data, and legal liability. Inadequate security can result from insufficient financial support and improperly configured infrastructures. Regardless, regulations require educational institutions to protect collected data. This includes having adequate security systems in place to protect against data breaches. Insufficient protection leads to breaches that can occur due to network-related issues and remote access. Institutions that allow students and employees to connect personal devices to the network increase their risk of breaches. Institutions that also allow employees to connect to the network remotely face an increased risk if an unsecure connection is used. Data breaches can compromise sensitive and protected data. This data can include academic records, such as grades, personal data that may contain medical records, and financial data, all of which are protected under federal regulations. Budget constraints pose potential concerns with providing adequate security measures to securing their networks and protect their data. As a result, educational institutions rely on third-party companies that provide cheaper software, which often do not focus on security. The danger to that is institutions that fail to provide adequate security of their students' data could face certain legal liability. Butler University, Harvard University, the North Dakota State University System, Pennsylvania State University, and the University of Maryland have all experienced major data breaches. The University of Virginia received a phishing scam where hackers targeted over 20,000 employees to gain access to their records that contained personally identifiable information. These breaches occurred through remote access to the network system. In an educational setting, everyone is obligated to ensure data is protected. Employees can use precautionary steps by familiarizing themselves with the laws and policies that govern the data, creating a usable backup, using screensavers and device login screens, using strong passwords, being wary of social engineering hacks, and understanding hazards that are created by viruses, along with teaching students the importance of protecting their data. Educational institutions should also require students to either attend workshops on information security or take a security class. Privacy protection, guidance, and assistance are available to aid educational institutions to ensure the protection of all data in any format. In addition to the protection provided by the U.S. Department of Education, other entities exist that provide guidance in a variety of areas such as financial information and student-related information. Financial information is protected under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Online student information is protected under the Internet Acceptable Use Policy, and fair information practices are protected by the Privacy Act of 1974.
Our research set out to investigate what higher institutions within the University System of Georgia are doing to follow FERPA regulations and how they are helping to protect their students' personally identifiable information. Protecting students' record is the responsibility of the educational institution and all its employees. So, to get a comprehensive data for this research, we decided to survey those university employees who are responsible for getting information into the hands of these students. So, we targeted the registrars. A total of 57 registrars, assistant registrars, and associate registrars from 28 colleges within the University System of Georgia made up the first half of our target population. Our second target group are the students of the University System of Georgia. A sample of the student population of the major Georgia State University was accessed via the campus list server. This sample population represents both the undergraduate and graduate student population of the colleges and universities within the University System of Georgia. These are the students that are directly affected by these FERPA regulations, and by surveying these students, we get a feel for what they know and what they don't know. The research instrument of choice for our target population were two online surveys. The first online survey, which was targeted to the registrars, consisted of 5 questions. These questions were designed to determine how institutions are making students aware of their FERPA rights, and to know if any other steps are being taken to educate transferring students of FERPA. It was also to establish any other resources, if any, that universities and colleges are using to regularly train students and employees about FERPA guidelines. The second survey was targeted towards the student population at Middle Georgia State University, as many as could be reached on the student list server. This was a test-like survey, and the questions did have correct answers. The majority of the questions were the true or false type questions. Some of them required the yes or no responses, and about 3 of them had multiple questions that require one or more answer choices. The questions focused on gathering data on students' knowledge and awareness of their rights under FERPA. Students were also gauged on their understanding of what constitutes personally identifiable information and unauthorized disclosure of PII under FERPA. Students were also tested to know how they take ownership in protecting their personal information. Both of the survey was administered online via email links sent to the target populations.
The results of this research findings found that the majority of the colleges and universities are in compliance with the Institute of FERPA regulations and are bringing awareness of FERPA to the student population. The registrar survey results had a total of 16 respondents out of the 57 registrars, assistant registrars, and associate registrars that were emailed. The schools targeted mostly annually notify their students about their rights under FERPA with an email or a web page announcement. However, One respondent didn't indicate that their students were not annually notified. Only 19% of the respondents of the registrar survey results stated that they do provide an additional notification about FERPA to their new and transfer students. 56% of the results showed that the colleges and universities that took the survey are teaching their students about FERPA during orientations, the school catalog, and the registrar's website. When the survey asked whether additional video or face-to-face trainings are provided to help faculty, staff, and students get a better understanding of FERPA, 63% of the responses selected that they do not provide face-to-face training for students. 69% selected that they do provide face-to-face training for faculty and staff, and 69% of responses also selected that they do not have any FERPA training videos that is available for faculty, staff, and students. The survey sent to the Student Population Listserv of Middle Georgia State University received a total of 59 responses. The average score for the student FERPA survey or questionnaire was 53%. The median score was 56% and the highest score was 89%. Almost half of the students that responded to the survey selected that they had never heard of FERPA before. Only 8% of the students knew when their FERPA rights as a student began, but almost 50% of the students did know that an education record is a list of names of the students in the class, a copy of a student's SAT scores, and an electronic notation of a grade in a class recorded by an instructor. 84% of the students that responded to the survey did know that an institution must annually notify them of their rights under FERPA and give them the opportunity to withhold the release of any or all directory information. And 91% knew that they must be notified if there is any unauthorized disclosure of their personally identifiable information. The results from the registrar surveys showed that one of the universities within the University System of Georgia answered that they do not annually notify their students about their rights under FERPA. This may pose concerns as an annual notification is included in the FERPA regulations. Another concern is that over half of the colleges and universities are providing face-to-face training for faculty and staff about FERPA, but are not doing the same for the students. The student survey concluded that nearly half of the students surveyed have never heard about FERPA before taking the survey. This could explain why none of the students answered all the questions correctly. One of the students did not select any of the correct answers. Providing students with the mandatory FERPA notification on an annual basis may not be enough. Additional training that details these regulations could help improve students' awareness. Colleges and universities may want to consider providing face-to-face training or training videos for the students to help educate them about FERPA. We hope that through the surveys, this study highlighted any shortcomings on the part of the institutions as it relates to FERPA, and that such institution will take necessary corrective measure to effect the change needed to ensure that the privacy and confidentiality of students, employees, and faculty data are a priority. Future studies. This study was limited to the undergraduate and graduate students population of a certain university and was also limited to the registrars within the University System of Georgia. Future studies should be conducted with larger school populations and expanded across the United States. Additional studies should also include registrars that are outside the University System of Georgia.
This concludes our presentation related to FERPA. We hope that the information provided has been informative. We also hope that your knowledge and understanding of FERPA have increased. For additional information related to your rights under FERPA, please visit the FERPA information on the U.S. Department of Education website. This site includes an array of information about a student's rights and privacy.